course, we didn't get a majority. There's a alleged coalition running the show there. But I must say that much could be improved. Of course, I must also say, this is some of the criticism that we have about our own councillors of LPM. You know, even Saturday we criticize them. Some of them that were elected into council positions of LPM, the way they answer their phones, honourable councillors, and we called them, we said, is your name now honourable? You know, LPM councillors. They are now so honourable, so VIPs.
You don't take calls from media also?
No, they are so important. They are in meetings in Okahanja or in Khobabos or in Kitmans. They are very important LPM councillors. And we've told them this sense of importance is old-fashioned, it's outdated. We are bored, but we are not impressed with some LPM councillors being so important. We don't care about it. My name is Bernadus, this is Edson. The honourable thing is a 5-year thing. And I tell them all the time, these LPM councillors, I was on the street, one day Buhamba called me and appointed me, gave me an expensive car and a driver. 4 years I was driven around, and then I got into an expensive Mercedes-Benz. 2 years I was driven, and poof, the next day I was back to my 2.4, 2.7, 2x4, Quicksilver, old buggy, driving myself now. Then I bought an old Mercedes-Benz, that one, old 2012 model, driving myself now. I was honourable today, tomorrow I was not honourable. So be careful, be Bernadus, be Sade, be Edson. That's what you are going to die with. And so I'm just trying to be transparent with you guys that we are not impressed by people that are so groot kop gekry oor positions. Work is what impresses.
This call cannot remain. We were sent there by our electorate because of the anomalies in land provision in Windhoek. Sitting in this council for the past 2 months, we have noticed that some issues and agendas are being pushed while there is no proper studies or investigations done. For example, the status quo is that there is high demand and limited supply of houses that have pushed property prices in Windhoek skyward, where a decent home dwelling costs an average of at least 1.1 million. The former City of Windhoek's Chief Executive Officer, Robert Kahemise, announced the development of low-cost housing below 100,000 in the informal settlements for the ultra-low income bracket in 2018. But nothing has come of that. As LPM, we will not allow anyone to use LPM and its councillors to push through agendas without thorough consultation and engagement. We are critically analyzing every issue so that we do not pass resolutions disguised as cherry on a cake, but to reform the system in its totality. We will ask all relevant questions, investigate, and leave no stone unturned to make sure our people, especially the landless, are not shortchanged because of discrepancies, greed, and egotistical agendas. Any item that comes to council should have been thoroughly scrutinized to make sure that our people benefit and that their long-awaiting anxieties can be addressed. The waiting list should be dealt with so that there are no duplications with NHE, groups, or the city's list. We are foremost accountable to the people that have elected us in these positions. We want to reaffirm our stance to the land question and the transparency in the process. We want to allocate land not only to benefit a few or only a certain group, but to allow each income group focusing on ultra-low, low and middle income groups. A reputable research institution has recommended that before private developers get approval to build houses, they should be mandated to reserve 20% of their housing development budget towards providing affordable housing so that higher income housing development could cross-subsidize housing for the lower income groups. But city developers seem not to adhere to key lessons to make housing affordable in Windhoek and elsewhere. Does Windhoek have land is the question that we are asking. The total area of Windhoek was expanded to a sizable 5.142 square kilometers from 654 square kilometers. But there seems to be no speedy relief in sight for housing shortages for its growing population at close to 400,000. In September 2011, the City of Windhoek extended its municipal boundaries in all directions from the central business district by 72 kilometers to the east, 40 kilometers to the north, 37 kilometers to the west and 68 kilometers to the south. Groot Hoop, with 8,597 hectares of land, was transferred by the Commerce Regional Council to the municipality and was subdivided into smaller units to accommodate more people. The Ochimise Rocky Crest development is expected to accommodate up to 138,000 people in middle income, where 34 portions of land are to be developed, while the Havana informal settlement is also being upgraded. Farm 508 in the Koreankap can accommodate about 3,035 plots within the brownfield or greenfield of Windhoek. Mixed settlement is also another area where another development can be looked into. Does Windhoek not have land? Let's ask ourselves again. We have discussed the pre-allocation of 5,000 Erdwin in 3 years during our deliberations in the council. But this does not speak to the realities on the ground. With a backlog of about 30,000 on the waiting list of COW, you will at least need to service 3,000 plots a year. The recommendations that we are giving is that the cost should be borne by the city, that the Housing Revolving Fund is planning on building 1,200 houses that is to be delivered by 2022. Is this not too slow and too cumbersome of a situation? Why is it that the city cannot build their own houses to accommodate their residents and eliminate third parties which buy land from the city, develop it, build, and then sell at exorbitant prices? The issue of land invasion, cities should look into its own mandate and build their own houses in order to reduce the prices of housing. The issue of land invasion and giving the police more authority to handle these cases will be seen as creating more animosity between the city and its residents. Rather, we need to focus on building a trust relationship by fast-tracking land delivery. Once land is invaded, people take this land and then demand services and tenureship. This puts other people who are law-abiding citizens, which also need land but do not invade or grab, at a disadvantage. So equal distribution with a fair process is not achieved. So the city needs to expedite its processes, or allocating more land and at an acceptable rate, because its current backlog is too much of a problem. The less city deals with the current realities of the situation, the more problems will be faced with illegal occupation and land invasion. We support the general pessimistic perception that process of acquiring, servicing, and formalizing urban land is a lengthy, cumbersome, and costly undertaking and unsuitable for meeting the current needs of our people. There is a clear absence of comprehensive, practical, and realistic vision for the Namibian housing sector. I thank you.
Every person read. If you don't understand, you come to us, but we are proud of what you're doing.
Thank you.
City of Windhoek must take charge of building houses. It gets more than 580 million at least from rates and taxes and all these other things per year. It's a huge entity. What has become true of the city, as is the case of the entire system, is that they got used to 30 years of outsourcing, and that local authorities constantly step back, because to give a developer a piece of land means somebody in the city will get a piece of the fat from the sale of that land, and that is really also part of the problem. There is no more excuse to sit and talk about developers to whom land must be sold, developers who must go get land, and so on. If it has already been done, that's in the past. But going forward, the city of Windhoek must engage in its own construction of houses for its own people, because the budgets that people are spreading the hair so thin should also be redirected to what matters to the people of the city. And it's housing, it's land, it's housing. So when you colleagues go and do budgeting, Sade, housing, land and housing should be priority. If a dictator like Gaddafi could live in a tent until each and every Libyan got a house, and would subsequently redirect each and every resource of the oil to housing and to water provision of dry desert Libya, what is the problem that we are playing gimmicks here with legalese and some other processes of the city? The city also is a conglomeration of administrators that have over many years collected themselves in a fashion that they cannot be uncollected. They have consolidated one another in a deep state within the city. For instance, the City of Windhoek, while failing in its core mandate to provide land, housing, and water and sanitation,